Okay, and we're live. Okay, welcome everyone to another session of DC Adventures Midnight City. And we're gonna pick up right where we left off last time. Last time we pretty much ended the mission that the Long Swords were on, and it ended with everyone getting aboard their little aircraft, their little hovercraft vehicle, the Black Cat, driven by a mysterious masked pilot. But yeah, everybody's on board. Everybody's gone through different kind of experiences during the last mission, and we're going to pick it up with basically the aircraft arriving at its destination, which is the Forge, the headquarters of the Longswords, the headquarters that was the headquarters of the Bucklers when they still existed. When the Black Cat arrives and soars through the air, you will all see from the windows and such that it's heading towards the center of the island, the center of Midnight City, where this old school mansion, this kind of well, it's more like a large house than like it's not like a gothic mansion all the way through, but it's like a really large house with like a fence and all that stuff. Two-story building that would it's the size that it would need staff, let's say. And beneath it is the catacombs where the forge is located. This mansion used to belong to Plate Mancer, the leader of the Bucklers, who also ran the forge. But now these days, Geist, for example, knows that the mansion itself is kind of run down, abandoned, but it hasn't been taken over by delinquents or thugs or anything like that. It's pretty much like stayed in good condition except for maintenance and this kind of cleaning and that sort of thing. But it hasn't been invaded by anybody. And as the Black Cat soars through the sky and starts to descend downwards, the greenery around the yard, around the mansion, will reveal this secret tunnel that it's got the width of like a two lane road that this the Black Cat kind of dives into in this kind of smooth way that reveals a hangar. This hangar wasn't there when the Bucklers used this place. It usually just had the bunker space that the forge was, where the Plate Master's reflective pool and all that was. But there's also now this hangar where the Black Cat kind of goes and starts to steady its engines and finds itself still before it just kind of lands like the 1 meter distance to the ground, and as it lands it kind of just and it's kind of and on the pilot seat, the pilot is kind of just still flipping switches and kind of using knobs and that sort of stuff. He's not getting off of his seat yet. But for the people inside the vehicle, the three of you, having, like I said before, gone through the different experiences of the mission there, what sort of stuff are you guys doing in there, and how are you reacting when you land? Nobody?
uh, Semi-conscious Geist is delving in and out of delirium, still reeling from the visceral experience of experiencing multiple deaths back to back to back from different generations of his own lineage. Yes, all the way back forward to present day, and the thoughts still rolling through his mind. He's still to make sure that there are no bullets within it, and yet he can still feel that pain right there, in addition to other pain. Yes, this makes him gobble down some pills from his belt as he takes it with water, staring into that mirror All he could see is that mask with the skull upon it, that lifeless visage. He clenches the side of that sink and grips an utter mixture of rage and down, but is completely and utterly out of it as he breathes heavy and, for the most part, tries to attempt to contemplate what had just happened while in his mind trying to be analytical, trying to analyze what has been seen, where he has encountered the leader of the barbarians, Ironside, and that visage of that grotesque arm, that thing, that weapon so potent it seemed to warp reality when he fired it. But his mind keeps reeling back those thoughts. That analytical detective analysis keeps getting interrupted by flashbacks of his past selves, as it were, getting shot at, gunned down. Each time someone running in the field, blam, 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 those flashy images interrupting every single moment of conscious, calculating thought he attempts to have. And so he's nothing but in a quiet stupor right now, battling himself.
All right. What about the rest of you?
Liam is sitting in his comfortable chair and is looking at the hole in the plane. And he's just sitting there, and he has these two orbs in his hand, and it's just running them through his hand, and it's just sitting there, and he has this strange look on his face where stuff is being processed in his mind, and he's just staring at it, and especially at the part where he had to cut out the hand from the plane. And he looks at the orbs in his hand and just looks at the hole again, now and then throwing a look at Mr. Brick and at Geist, just processing it all in his mind and coming to grips with both the extreme situations that he was in and really being the first time that he used his powers to, well, greater extent than he ever thought was possible, that he was capable of, and he was trying to get to grips with it.
Yeah, and those orbs are, I think, the constructs, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Last session, after doing the diversion tactic with the illusion of the Black Cat to fool White Lightning as she was firing her sonic boom at you, that was pretty much where you shouted out loud that, "God damn, you're powerful! that you're way beyond your the limits you had in your own mind."
That's exactly the point. Indeed, he used his powers pretty much under the radar, and it's very small, and now he just went all out, and his mind is racing with all the possibilities of the things that he could do.
All right. What about Mr. Brick? What's going on in his mind?
Yeah, so I mean, as the camera kind of focuses in on tightly onto Liam's balls as he's spinning them, it kind of fades off to the side, and there's a just kind of zooms into Mr. Brick, who has his body slightly turned towards the opening, almost as if he's not trying to hide himself from view of Liam and from Geist, who's sitting across from him. His skin has that reddish brick color that he gets his name from, with the black cracks all through it. Probably Liam and both guys, neither one of them have probably seen him fully under light, where his skin is that color. When he's dark, it actually takes on a blackish hue, as the little bit of, well, we'll say that, yeah, his skin just changes colors when the light touches him. But in this point, it's just so lit up that he's that color. He has his mask, he's holding it in his hand, and He's bent over with his elbows on his knees, just kind of trying to make himself as small as possible, even though he probably takes up a third of the ship itself. And as he sits there, the the camera kind of pans across the floor, and you see just droplets of where a small pool of reddish blood that isn't his blood, but it's just pooled and begun to coagulate there as it stripped off his body after he massacred all those beings. Then you see like just a splash hits it, and it's this blackish color that mixes with the red. And you zoom up, and they can see that there's these black lines that are just coming from his eyes, which must be some form of tear that he has. He doesn't have the normal tears. It's just black liquid that drips from his eyes. And he seems to just every once in a while kind of like wipe his face, wipe his nose, as if he's as if he's got slight frustration, anger. He's upset at himself, caught with where he's coming to terms with murdering people, which is something that he gave up when he became Mr. Brick. And as he's sitting there, his mind flashes back to those tubes in the laboratory, and then parts to his childhood of growing up in a completely white, sterile environment with men dressed in white lab coats and always doing experiments onto him. The sounds of drills being pushed against his skin continuously, trying to penetrate it to draw blood. All of this from the time that first memories that he has of being maybe 3 or 4 years old, being a toddler, being experimented on, and this going all throughout his teenage years, well into his 20s. This constant state of just being a number, being an experiment, being something that's not a real being, a real human. And then there's a time where it flashes to him, and he kind of shudders. In the real, not in his dream, but in the real life, he shudders and more tears come down, and he just stops crying, as there's like this an explosion, and everything that he sees, all the white, everything within the lab, the entire thing is just destroyed, and then he finds himself just in pitch black, reaching up, just kind of pulling and grinding, pulling and ripping, bending metal, concrete, wiring, everything in the way, just reaching up, just reaching, and eventually just his hand punches through a surface, and he sees the tiny bit of light, and he kind of starts pulling himself through. In his mind, it flashes back from there, back to him in the cockpit, where he actually seems to like come out of whatever daydream he had, and he's looking down, and you can see his arm is covered with all the little medallions that Liam and Geist, you probably can see if you really look down. You see he just looks at him, and he slowly reaches in and pulls out one of those tiny wet nap things that he has. Just rips it open, pulls out a little pre-moistened cloth, and begins slowly cleaning each one of those little circlets. And then that's where we're cut to flying in to land, probably.
Okay. Does anybody want to interact with one another before anything happens, or does anybody react to noticing Mr. Brick's kind of angst that he's kind of going through there very visibly?
No, Liam is too self-centered at this time, just processing too much for himself to really pay too much attention to anyone, and really.
Okay. What about Geist, being in your mental state? Noticing someone close to you, clearly also kind of wrestling with kind of existential issues.
Well, I would say that he is also in a state where he's not really in it. He is, however, a veteran member, and as a veteran individual that he may be, though the others might not know his full past, he has still dealt with many things in his time, and this is just one more weird-ass thing to happen, to be expected in the line of a superhero. And a very strange thing happens. For a brief instant, there is a brief little flame, if you will, that is lit underneath of those eyes of Geist. Yes, a slight bit of we wouldn't call this bravado, but more of an empathy building up that's lighting this fire. And he looks over at Mr. Brick, and he looks over at Liam. You hear him clear his voice. It was pretty rough down there. I want to say, you did good. We'll get him next time.
There's a loud sniffling noise as Mr. Brick, clears his nose and wipes it real quickly. Kind of just wipes away that black ichor that was coming out of his eye sockets. Not tears, because Mr. Brick would never shed tears. He's too much of a powerful being to do that. But he looks over and stares at Geist. Still almost with that worshipping, as he believes that Geist looks and fits 100% the part of a superhero. And he admires that, even the short time that he's known him, that he feels that is something to aspire to. And he kind of like, you're right, Geist. We'll do better next time. Less killing.
There's a bit of a pause when you say less killing, and that flame that was ignited once before simmers down to a bit of a smolder. And that smoke, yes, the smoke, yes, this is what remains now after the embers have burnt out. And when he says less killing, that kind of echoes in Geist's mind. He thinks back to all of his past selves that have also died, the experiences, the flashbacks, boom, boom, boom again. His fist slightly clenches. He looks over at you, Mr. Brick, and he goes, well, Mr. Brick, I should hope that we should do a little bit more killing. They haven't had enough of a lesson taught to them. Do not feel sorry for any blood you spill of their kind. They are vermin. They are cancer. They have caused far more pain. Far more. Letting them live is an insult to all those who have suffered. Don't feel guilt. Don't feel remorse for them. They have caused pain, unregrettably so. The least we can do now is make sure that pain can never happen again. No. No, we are the long swords. We strike out at that which is unjust. That we're the last line between anarchy in this city, divided by guilds in this place of eternal midnight, of constant nightmares. Yes, we are the only thing that stands between us and utter chaos. So, Mr. Brick, next time you feel that pang of mercy, remember, some of the tests that the barbarians have to go through to become a member is to bomb buildings filled with people, children, mothers, and fathers. Yes, that's just but a simple sampling of the filth we have to deal with.
Wait, so you're saying that all members of all these gangs are just beyond saving?
That is precisely what I'm getting at, Mr. Liam. These individuals are the apex of depravity. Why, just from Mr. Brick's report alone, dealing with those leatherheads, it's quite obvious the kind of depravity we are dealing with. It'll get worse. And if you don't believe me now, I don't blame you. But you will see. You will see just how disgusting they get, how deep that rabbit hole goes, and you won't want to look back. You'll regret seeing it. Believe me, you will. A part of you will probably die. But then afterwards, it'll feel numb. Not because you don't feel anything, but because it can no longer frighten you. And then you see it for what it really is. The squirming filth that it must be. Yes. Oh, don't worry. They're all too human. But they're the worst aspects. The very worst.
Did you see what I kind of point over with my thumb to Mr. Brick? What Mr. Brick did to those guys? Because I did, and if that's what this job entails, it was fun while it lasted, but then I'm out.
You see Mr. Brick, I mean, when you mention that, he looks... First off, he seems crestfallen with Geist telling him that he should be killing people, unless this is not anything. This is not what the man once known as the Muse wants to hear. He doesn't want to be that type of person anymore. He wants to be Mr. Brick, a defender of the innocent, not a killer and a slaughterer of man. He doesn't want to be known as the, Render or the Ripper or the Chest Crusher or the Heart Bleeder. He wants to be known as the friend of the children, one who defends all, loved by the kids. He doesn't want them to be feared or afraid of him or to come to him if they need help. And then at the same time he turns, he looks over at Liam, and he another crestfallen as he just gets, as if a superpowered creature has just smashed him in the face. He just almost feels that his words strike him with such power that he just kind of looks down and begins fiddling with the little medallions on his wrist, crestfallen and unable to speak, to say any words at all, with maybe just a little shuddering of his shoulders from nervousness and sadness at being reminded quite clearly of what he did to those men.
Well, Mr. Liam, you're not going to be asked to kill. No, that's not something that Vasilevich would order outright. No. You are allowed to handle the situation however you please. Just take what I said as a suggestion. Believe me, they're not going to give you any mercy. You don't have to be kill frenzy about it. It could be a very quick thing. But remember, when they get the second chance, they're not going to give you any mercy. And they'll draw out that pain long into the night until you're tired to scream. And that's when the real fun begins for some of them.
Listen, I snoozed to much of my high school and beyond, but looking around in this city, everything's dark and everything's black, and people adapt, at least as far as I know, and if the only thing they see is darkness and death and pain and stuff, it's easy for young people to make a step to that type of direction. I can't believe I'm the one here debating about, well, you know what? Forget it. I'll talk to the big cheese and see what her plans are with all of this. And who's that guy driving this thing anyway?
At that point, the side door opens as you've just arrived into the hangar, and as the side door opens, like the like the Back to the Future time machine doors, upwards. No, actually, that's wrong because Cop Killer pulled it off to the side, so it has to open to the side like a van. So yeah, there you go. Apologies. The door kind of just opens to the side, and as it opens, you can see Tanya Vasilievich kind of standing there, a little bit of distance away, not right at the door, and she's kind of, she has her arms crossed, and she's kind of intensely smoking a nervous cigarette as she's looking towards the vehicle as the door opens.
Mr. Brick was just looking at Liam, and as Liam was speaking, he actually, his eyes starting to widen, that he felt a sense of, for a pinpoint second, he felt like a sense of camaraderie between them, as if maybe Liam believes the same thing he does. We can't just kill for no reason. And then the door opens, and then she's standing out there, and immediately he kind of, once again tries to become small. He calls, and he kind of, steps out of the helicopter, and when he does, the helicopter shocks as they get up, as he, all 600 pounds when he gets out of the vehicle. And he kind of stands there and kind of looks at the others, hoping that they will go first, seeming to want to avoid heading towards Mrs. Vasilovich. I can't even say her name.
Yeah, there's not going to be a silent pause or anything unless somebody immediately acts. She will open her mouth and speak to you guys.
Geist will walk forward. There'll be a bit of a, as he walks, there'll be a bit of a, not much of a saunter to his step, but a little bit of a limp here and there.
Okay.
I'll have my hand in my pocket ready for her to say anything.
Okay.
And I look really annoyed at her.
Okay. Well, as soon as the door opens and everybody kind of sees each other, she takes the cigarette out from her lips and says, "Gentlemen."
Alarm goes off. As soon as she opens her mouth to say anything, I go woo! This alarm starts ringing. And when she closes her mouth again, it stops. And it starts again as soon as she opens her mouth. And then I'll walk over to her and say, "Annoying, isn't it? Huh? Remember us fighting for our lives and you screaming in my ear about a report? Fucking bitch, who the hell do you think you are?"
My apologies, gentlemen. There was a clear miscommunication happening. Things that were not expected to happen happened, and I was not aware of what was going on because of the lack of security drones in the immediate area. So, my apologies for my conduct, but I needed to assess the situation in order to provide you with information and direction if such was needed. Is everyone all right? Does anyone need medical attention or anything of the sort?
No. Well.
John, you're muted. You were trying to clearly say something.
I was sorry. I was still laughing over Liam making her sound like a horn. I'm just picturing that in my head. I don't know. It just tickles Mr. Brick quite a lot.
Yeah. Yeah, Phil, what were you saying?
Thanks.
Phil, you were saying something while...
Yeah, he'll look towards her. Yes. I'm experiencing just a bit of dizziness, amongst other things. Other than that, I appear to be whole.
If that's the same with everyone, then somebody's getting annoying message sounds all throughout. If that's the same with everyone, then please see to yourselves and see to your own well-being as as best as you can. The mission went sour, as an understatement. But according to what Mr. Brick was informing me through the radio, it wasn't a complete failure. You seem to have walked away with an ample amount of information, which was exactly what we were looking for. Sadly, the cover was blown, and sadly, it went into hostile territory. But thankfully, everyone survived, and from the looks of things, no one seems to have been physically harmed.
When she says physically, Geist slightly nods his head, but he still gets those flashbacks. For this has only been mere hours since this incident occurred in his mind, and that lingering sensation, those flashbacks, literal flash of white light, and he suddenly finds himself again in another position in the distant past, running, a peasant screaming, "Oh, blaze out!" As blood falls upon a field of beautiful flowers and collapsing, he almost collapses forward himself a little bit, a bit of a stutter step as he leans back up as if he were extremely tired, but none could truly quite know exactly what's going on there. But he quickly recovers just as fast as it occurred, growing more annoyed and yet still just as disturbed about the mental pain that has been caused once more.
All right.
I think it's a good idea if we get clear about why exactly we are here and what is expected of us, because already in the short flight here, there's been some clear diversions of these ideas.
I see. Well, in that case, why don't we get right to it? The situation is.
Yes, please. I'd like to freshen up a bit before we get into this talk. Thank you. I just survived. Where are the showers?
Upstairs.
Thank you very much.
Are you walking like past her? Okay. As you go, Geist and Brick can see clearly the frustration in her face, though she's not like overtly expressing it through words or anything, but still, she kind of turns to you two, and kind of she takes a couple of steps closer to you two. Though, how far away is Mr. Brick? Is he still inside the Black Cat?
No, he would have stepped up beside them, especially with seeing Geist, who's a little unsteady on his feet. He's kind of reached down and placed his left arm around Geist's right arm, trying to just, gently holding him in case he needs something to lean on. But he's standing there, though he is not. He's standing probably maybe a third of his height, just kind of like crouched down, standing almost in a subdued way in front of her. And as she's reaching, as she starts stepping forward, he holds out the tiny little broken camera that's in little pieces towards her. I tried to get a picture. This broke.
Never mind. These aren't a concern.
He just throws it.
Yeah. Though looking at your looking at the two of you, I'm very glad that all of you made it back in one piece. The mission, like I stated before, was supposed to be a sneaking mission, a reconnaissance mission, a mission of simply spying and gathering information. It was never meant to become violent, but these things happen, especially in Midnight City. One can't help the surroundings one finds themselves in, especially in enemy territory. So I am very glad to see the capabilities and professionalism that's still around, in order to see the mission through and see yourselves and your comrades all in one piece back at base. Like Mr. Liam suggested, I'm going to sit you all down and we'll have a legitimate conference about.
A Geist will turn towards Mr. Brick and he will say to him, Mr. Brick, I think you'll find the accommodations here at the mansion to also have many refineries to clean yourself up. That way you don't have to worry about it. Looking down at your arm and then back up at you.
Certainly.
Yeah, Mr. Brick. I turn, look at Geist. I kind of nod, then I look back over. I said, "Man, hey, well, I believe there's one more of us who's, but I, well, see, when we were, I sniffed, basically, and he's really like flustered. He's not sure how to say it. Man, I was talking to Captain Phantom, and he is stuck somewhere. We should probably try to save him."
We will return to that subject later on at a better time, and we can discuss that later. But for now, Mr. Brick, as it happens, since the young Mr. Liam here was indeed caught in the middle of a very deadly situation that sprung out of nowhere, which was not expected. He's very young. He's basically a kid. I would very much like to make it a priority of yours to look after his safety. You've seen what these streets are like to young minds, and I feel like he would be best served with somebody personally looking after his safety.
I nod and then I say, I think, Liam, yes, I will watch after him, and I'll watch after Geist too.
That would be very much appreciated. And Geist, there's no need for you and I to recall anything from the past to express how much we both understand the situation we find each other in and what we've all been through. But in looking at Liam's record, looking at Mr. Brick's record, looking at the inexperience in dangerous situations that Mr. Liam has, and looking at the inexperience of working in a group that Mr. Brick has, I would very much enjoy you taking your experience to the forefront and taking on a more active leadership role in the group if...
Wait, at this time, has Mr. Brick started to walk away already?
No, he's still standing there, still holding your arm. But yeah, you can see a big smile starting to appear as she's discussing about you being the leader.
He'll look over at you, and his arm will phase through yours. And afterwards, he'll put his hand on your shoulder. And it is a very slow onput upon your shoulder, and you do feel it. It is solid. And he looks to you and says, "Appreciate the help, Mr. Brick, but I won't need it for the time being. Why don't you go on ahead and take a gander at the inside of the facility? I think you'll enjoy many of the things that are in there. There'll be assistants inside to help you." And he slightly pats you on the shoulder.
With that, I turn, and I look over at her, and if she gives me a nod, then I move. I won't leave until she dismisses me. And then you notice that, oddly enough, it's almost as if she's like 7 feet wide as he makes this kind of weird, large track around her, just to go around her to go out the door, as if there's this magical bubble that's around her that he needs to avoid.
Okay. Um,
And it's after like they are all out of earshot. This Geist get very close, like within like 3 feet of Vaslovich, and his at first the scene starts off. The camera sees Mr. Brick walking away. We see Geist staring out at him, and then even further out at Liam, and then stares back at her again. No expression on that ghost-like cowl of Geist, and he stares upon her and says, "You've got to be fucking kidding me." He's thought that he is talking to Captain Phantom. I don't know what's going on here. His mental records didn't say anything about this kind of psychosis.
what are you expecting with the resources we have? If you look around the city, if you make a list of every possible candidate for this group, these are pretty much the only ones who aren't homicidal maniacs.
I know, I get it, I understand that. It's just... He kind of turns away for a moment. This will be difficult.
Indeed, which is exactly why I must lean on you for this.
That's not the problem. I can guide, teach as much as I can. They're going to have the drive on their own. That's what it's always took. They're going to have their own motivation. I don't know. The city. Maybe before, if it was 5 years later, maybe then it would be
But
a
it
different
isn't
story.
5 years later, it's now.
Exactly. That's the point.
If we want to change anything, we're going to have to...
That's the point. It is now. And now is a much different time. I don't know if they're willing to make the decisions that it takes. However, I'll do my job. I'll guide them. I'll do whatever it takes. You can count on me for that. If I'm anything at this point, I am my job.
Well, it's well appreciated. But as soon as we have that conference, I'm sure you won't have to worry so much about their motivation and dedication, because the situation is indeed as dire as it most likely seems in the field. But I'm very glad that you're still among the living.
Don't worry. It'll take a lot more than that to kill me. And besides, they can't kill that which has already died. No.
When you say that, the pilot door of the Black Cat kind of opens, and you can see the pilot kind of nonchalantly walk out from the vehicle and kind of starting to walk towards a desk that's in the hangar that has tools, and he's just going there. He goes and gets the pulls all sorts of tools and stuff on a little like trolley there, and starts to kind of come to the ship and look at the hole that Liam sawed on the side of the door there, clearly about to start fixing up the vehicle there. Yeah.
And as that happens, he might just walk alongside of Aslovich and turns around, notices the hole, and looks back at her. I suppose on a brighter note, at least we got to know the neighbors' faces. They seem to be a nice couple. Big fella, likes to work out. Got a thing for crazy demonic machine arms.
Most likely he's gone underground yet again. But we've...
Don't worry. They always come back up for air.
And this time we've got leads.
and filled with a little bit more purpose in mind. He maintains his silent and steady demeanor.
All right. As Liam left the hangar led to another room before it leads to the upstairs. It first only leads to the actual forge, which you haven't visited yet. And from the forge, then there's steps upwards to the actual mansion. The hangar itself, it like has a bathroom door and stuff like that, but it's very like it has that one utility mainly for maintaining and fixing up the vehicle and all that. But as you exit it through a door that leads to a corridor where you can see that there's old school, like the walls are like more like brick. The hangar looked more modern with like concrete kind of plastered stuff on the walls. But when you go to the hallway, it's more like stone, and it has like not lit, but these old school torches, these kind of metal casings for you to put fires into them. It kind of medieval flair to them, and then the corridor ends in these curtains. These very like decorated, very like again medieval, almost like something from a king's court. These these curtains with these braids kind of hanging from them and all that.
I stand in this corridor and I'm just a bit taken by the ancientness of this house, and I was like, holy shit. And my hand just goes into my pocket, and the picture I have in my head, I just kind of like I pull over an extra page, so illusions start to appear in the hallway, where all of a sudden banners start to roll down from the walls and stuff, and torches start to light up, and it really looks like an old castle. And the banners have the letter L on them, and they're like kind of waving and stuff. And he looks for a moment, and then just shakes his head, and the illusion disappears, and he just continues to walk onward.
Okay. When you go through the curtain that's there, it's there to basically simulate a door. It's just push the curtain away, and it opens up the actual forge, the large room, this kind of bunker kind of room there that is shaped kind of like a half ball. It's like this dome size or shaped roof that's again like created out of brickwork, like this masonry, where the bricks kind of go in this ever wider circle to create the walls to it. On the walls, there's these intervals of giant statues, these kind of something like 10 feet tall statues, maybe even 12 feet, of these medieval Teutonic knights, these fully armored plated knights that if you were somebody who studied history, they wouldn't resonate with any specific culture or anything like that, but they are very like classic knights who are holding like two-handed swords, in this kind of swords down and stuff, and they're very like overly majestic and all that stuff, and between them there's like all sorts of tapestries and stuff on the walls, and also there's computer screens. There's more like modern technology between those things. But what's the most striking thing is that in the middle of this room there's a giant reflecting pool. This it's circular, and it's the size of a sumo ring, let's say. And it's a little bit elevated from the ground, like it has like edges that like tilt a little bit upwards before it goes into the pool, and those edges are covered in carvings that look kind of like Egyptian hieroglyphs, not like Egyptian specifically, but they have that style. where it's like characters and drawings and that sort of stuff more than any letters or anything. And the reflective pool itself, the surface it has the fluid in it. It's covered in the fluid, but it doesn't really look like water. It actually looks exactly like a mirror. It looks solid and it looks like it's a mirror, but at the same time, it doesn't look like it's at the bottom. Like if there was a mirror set there, it most likely would be at the bottom of that reflecting pool, but it's at the surface, so it does look like a fluid, but it's kind of like Quicksilver or something like that. That sort of liquid mirror there, and it's completely like stable. And yeah, that's the kind of room that you see before your eyes as you arrive there.
Kind of look left to right, the stark contrast between relatively modern and this extreme old to the power of 100. So he's like a bit confused by the difference between it. Liam as a character is very attuned to magic. So would I notice any magical energy coming from this reflexive pool?
You wouldn't notice in the visual sense or anything like that, but you definitely feel it. It has a very like this kind of calling kind of sense to it. It has certain properties. You feel like around it you could like the air would feel very like different and stuff like that. It's definitely magic, and it's definitely something that you can sense, but it's not represented very visually.
No, it's just a feeling inside of myself. So
yeah.
I look at it, sniff myself, and then I go like, yeah, first take a shower, and then I walk on.
Okay. Yeah, there's a one little like corridor that goes into one of the walls where you can already see the bottom of a staircase. This again like this stone staircase that goes upwards from there.
Murmuring to myself that they should give out like pamphlets with maps of the place on it when we first arrive here, but I kind of follow my way.
Okay. As you go up the stairs, you notice that there's a heavy wooden door, only like pretty much at the stage when you get around the height of the ceiling of that forge ceiling, around the time when you get that height, which would be something like, something around, maybe like 15 feet or something. When you get that far on the stairs, and they're like old school, like brick stairs where they're really like long stairs, so that it takes a long while. It takes like very like lengthy steps to step on the steps there. But and they go kind of in the circular. They kind of corkscrew or go around the actual like forge. The stairs.
Oh wow! So it's a long walk then.
Yeah. But when you get up, there's a heavy wooden door there with like door handles that are like, again like they're like helmets that have like where you would think horns would sprout out. The handle, the ring kind of comes from there. So there's knight helmets there with the handles just,
I try to open the door. Is it?
Oh, okay. Yeah, it actually in your hands it doesn't feel heavy at all. It opens very smoothly and lightly, and you can feel this breeze as you open it. And as it opens up into a hallway of the mansion itself. It opens up into a hallway where you can see the front, basically the first, like the hall, where the front entrance of the mansion is right there. You can see the door to basically to your left, like you're coming from the wall that's in the first kind of room that you would see if you would enter through the front door. There's a large staircase at the extreme other end of the wall where you're coming out of, and the staircase leads upstairs. It's a two-story mansion there. You can see already from all the open doorways and stuff. There's very little doors, but there's doorways a lot of all around the place. Yeah, it's that kind of place where if you were to come through the front door, there would be like the first like the hall there with the stairs and the corridors leading either further into the house that would lead into a kind of a dining room or like this kind of a hearth room where people would like either dine or like smoke cigars and sip on cognac and whiskey or whatever, and there's kind of like accommodation rooms and stuff like that, and then the stairs would lead to basically the second floor, which would be kind of like the rooms of the residents and the kind of office spaces that would expand into these big libraries and stuff. It has this kind of a those old like big plantation households, those kind of southern aristocrat kind of places. It has that kind of a flair more than any kind of gothic kind of thing.
Well, Liam feels right at home in these kind of houses, so he just looks around and kind of follows his instincts on where he would think that in a house like this, a resident or a room would be with a bathroom attached to it.
Okay, the closest would be a guest room, very close by on the first floor. The thing is that you sense this small air of magic all around you. Everything is clean. There's no dust anywhere. There's no like grime anywhere. There's clearly no sign of anyone forcing an entry in here. And yet there's no sign of anyone. Like there's no like staff or anything of that sort. No servants or anything of that kind. So there's something in the air. Some kind of magic, but.
Well,
yeah.
I go up the big stairs and I find a room to my likings there.
Okay, the rooms are of course like modernized when it comes to showers and all that stuff, but there is a definite flair of this kind of 1800s kind of feel when it comes to all the furniture and all the like plaster on the walls and stuff. It doesn't have that sort of it feels like downstairs is the medieval world and upstairs is some sort of a aristocratic, this kind of Victorian kind of world. And yeah, you easily find a room there with very clean and very nice looking bathroom for you to shower in.
Excellent. I go and freshen up.
Okay. While you do that, Mr. Brick was the next to leave the hangar, and you see the exact same things that I described to Roger. But how does Mr. Brick react?
I mean, except for the tapestries that have an L on them. That seems totally unfamiliar to him, but
I would venture to guess they don't exist anymore. I think Liam only tried them on and then turned them off.
Yeah, he shook his head and they were gone. So
okay, all right. So yeah, so when I enter, which isn't really that long after him, but I do as he goes along. Not Liam. Sorry. I end up having this feeling of deja vu, as if I know this, like. And I begin moving around, and then I head down like one of the side corridors, and oh my God, there's the pool. And then like, what? That's the pool. That's Plate Mancher's pool. Annual number 1. It's in the same spot. And then I begin running around, running to the different rooms. Oh, there's the communication room. It's here. It's the bucklers. This is, and he just like a kid running from room to room, and he's like this wasn't here in the manual, but that's fine. This other stuff, and he just begins running to different rooms, eventually finding his way after maybe 5 or 10 minutes of exploration to the staircase, and he's like, oh, the staircase to the mansion. And he reverently and oh so slowly begins to wake his way up the brick, putting his hand on it, rubbing it gently, kindly, lovingly. And then he gets up to the top and he goes, oh, plate manters, the helmets. Oh, and he slowly opens the door and he's like, looks around. This doesn't look anything like the mansion. Saying that to himself, and then just kind of walks out and then looks around slightly, not as impressed, because, this isn't what's in the comics, so it's not as cool. So he closes the doors and he makes his way upstairs, figuring that's where the lavatory and the cleaning rooms would be. And the whole while just shaking his head. I had to go plate man's pool. Maybe pump trucks, armories down there.
Oh man! Well, Liam would hear to the shower, all the way to the shower, all the heavy footsteps that Mr. Brick would do after he gets, all the way up the stairs into the actual mansion. So Mr. Brick was also heading to clean himself up, right?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. He needs to get this blood off him and clean a little bit of clothes that he has off.
As Liam hears Mr. Brick walk past, and he's taking a shower, you see him kind of pulling the curtain to the side and kind of almost reaching for his trousers, and he's just like, nah, he shakes his head and just continues to shower.
Can't resist messing with people. Okay. Well, Mr. Brick will also very quickly find himself similar accommodations with a working bathroom and all that, everything being all cleaned up and working nicely and all that.
Finding stuff like that's huge that would be something that he could use, right? So it's not. Because normally, if you tried to get in a tiny bathtub, you'd probably break it, maybe, or So the stuff here is probably made for larger, muscular, more powerful guys. Because the other.
Yeah, I would imagine that. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. All right. Cool. So he actually finds a slightly more comfort than he normally would have going into a bathroom. Think of a tiny toilet to him. What's he gonna do with that? That's not gonna work for him. So he goes in.
They need to have a titanium one.
Yeah, titanium one. Yeah. So he goes in and takes a shower, cleaning off, and just brings his mask, his cape, and his his underwear in there, and just washes them in there. So that's the only thing that he has.
Okay. What about Geist? What's he planning to do while we went to these two?
He's just gonna walk alongside Vasilevich and kind of just fill her in on any reports that he has. And when there's nothing else to be said, he'll just be silently walking next to her and stuff to the room.
All right. Well, while you're walking upwards, also to the mansion there, she will be leading you to the dining room there, where there's a huge table there, and there's a big hearth there and all that. It's very and there's in this Victorian kind of style. There's also kind of mounted stuffed animal heads from all around the world. There's a tiger head here. There's a bear here. There's a deer head here, and all these things. Like a full bear on its hind legs. Stuff there, and like a deer with huge antlers above the hearth there. But there's also some sort of supernatural stuff, also sorts of dinosauric and alien creature heads there as well. And all of these also kind of remind you that there's no color in this world. It's all just gray, kind of dull.
And walking through here ends up feeling like a wave of nostalgia. For Geist rarely comes inside here. He rarely wants to, for he knows that every time it is but a memory of the past. Though ironically, he wears it along his waist. Yes, he finds himself scaling his hands over those 3 bucklers that he has. And each time he thinks back to his old comrades, to days of yore, long gone, long dead, and all he can do is reminisce in his mind. And for this dialogue that he's going to have, no one's going to hear it, for it will be inside of his head, but he will think the following. Yes, And here we are once more, strolling through these dead halls. False memories. All of them. A thing that once was. A dead thing. And me along with it. He looks around. Vasilevich in front of him. None of this feels right. I still feel like I'm waiting to wake up. But that's a falsehood. A reality. I'll have to face. And so will they. All of them need to pay. And he finds his eyes darting out those large windows, and each time he sees that vast city, and he sees just that pale darkness, that dark and gray, and yet stinging in the back of his mind, the things that Liam had said earlier, settling there, like sediments in a pond, hard to get rid of. Thinks back to that. I have a kid lecturing me about that. What do they know? They haven't seen none of it. They haven't seen near the horrors. And he just thinks back to the 5 years he's dealt with this town after the fall. Yes, the 5 years of it. The decrepitness, the decay. He watched the city rot from the inside out. And he feels the irony, which part of him doesn't want to omit to, for it is the fear that he could be wrong. But how can he be? But this pain is so real, so visceral. No, that is the only truth now. And narrowly his eyes, though they cannot be shown through the cowl that he wears, they narrow out at that landscape as white orbs scanning the distance. He can only think about more of them to be put underneath the ground where they should belong. Their second chance was already had. They chose their path. And now choose their place for them. 6 feet under. I got a place for each of those vassals, he thinks to himself as he walks behind Vasilevich.
All right. Sorry, gotta go piss.
And now a word from our sponsors. If you enjoy D20 Modern or any D20 supplement and you like heroes and mutants and masterminds, you'll definitely enjoy DC Adventures. That's right, DC Adventures. This is basically the same thing as Mutants and Masterminds 3rd Edition. If you want it, pick it up at drivethrurpg.com or amazon.com or any other place that sells books of RPG variety. All right.
But tell us, Phil, what kind of heroes can you play?
Oh, you could play any heroes you want. You could play, let's see here. Let's see, the DC Heroes here, Adventures, often reminisces off of the classic DC heroes that we see here, but of course with Mutants and Masterminds and this, you can make just about any hero you want. Do you want to be the Incredible Breakfast Man? You can be the Incredible Breakfast Man.
I hear he's
always rising. That's right, always rising at the break of dawn. He always knows when there's morning because morning happens 24 hours on this planet. That's right.
Well, let's get back to the...
We got a word from the sponsor. It's okay.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Anyway, let's pick out from where Liam and Mr. Brick have both finished their cleaning up and all that, and everybody kind of gathers up in the dining hall, where the giant, large table with the very comfortable and very decorative, comfortable chairs are all around it, and there's the giant hearth and all that. And when everybody's kind of, found their way there, Tanya Vasilievich is kind of standing there in front of the hearth, and she kind of lights a new cigarette there, and you know, takes in a huff and just kind of and grabs something from the front of the hearth, from some sort of a little leather patch that looks like kind of like a coin sack from, like, again, like a medieval thing, like with the leather string just kind of, you know, making it like hang from the front of the hearth, and she's just kind of, you know, putting her fingers into it, and she takes something that looks kind of like a pebble, you know, at least from your distance, and she kind of very casually just throws it into the hearth, and immediately there's like this puff of just kind of like gunpowder, making a little puff, nothing not like a bang, and just and the hearth is just lit up, all the firewood inside, with you know, this glowing heat and light coming from it, and she kind of, you know, takes the cigarette from her lips and turns to you and says, "Right, now that everyone's gathered here and everyone's more or less freshened up, we can get down to the actual serious nitty-gritty of our situation that we find ourselves in. As all of you, without a doubt, know, there's no leaving this city. Anyone that's inside is pretty much doomed to spend the rest of their lives inside these parameters. So, what we do with the situation we find ourselves in is either accept it and just wait for our own times to run out, perhaps take the route that some in the city, most, have taken, of just writhing in fear or expressing one's darker sides by simply indulging in things social constraints have denied us, it's at least from their perspective, or we can actually work to try and fix this. If not fix what's on us due to this damned thing, at least try and fix the lives it's wrecking every day, every second of every day. I've managed to gather all of you here because you're just about the only people with the capabilities and the abilities that have not turned that way, that have not turned into absolute homicidal maniacs just looking for pleasure or power. You're a very scarce resource when it comes to human beings in this city, and that's why I have hope that all of us can find some reason to work together and actually pull this off. This is not even an attempt at trying to rekindle anything of the likes of the bucklers of old. The longsword group that we're trying to build here is a lot more direct operation because this is the last chance this city has. This is the last chance that the people of this city has. All the innocent lives, all the women, children, all the fathers, sons, and mothers, all the people that you've seen around getting strung up and getting destroyed. I've had contact with CIA, with a Black Operatives brand, with the president himself. And I've pleaded and begged and I've negotiated as much as humanly possible. The mayor of this town is trying to turn it into an absolute police state and into a military-run organization where the government would actually start shipping military-grade weaponry for him and the police up north in the uptown.
Not surprising. The second he does that, he starts feeding fuel to the fire. They'll eat them up alive.
Exactly. Having seen what you all seen during these last few days, or nights rather, you know exactly, like Geist said, what the outcome of that would be. There can't be peace through fear, because fear only feeds the violent tendencies of these gangs. There would simply be more death. There would not just be death dealt by the hands of those vicious gangs. It would also be death dealt by the apparent good people in the authority positions. I have managed to postpone that by getting one last shot at this. And since the situation is like I described, with people with your talents being a scarce commodity, this is the best we can hope for. If we fail with this task force, if we fail with this group, if the Long Swords do not manage to pull this off at all, this will all turn into a living hell if it's not one already. And since none of us can just toss our hands in the air and just leave the city, leave the violence, and look out for number one, we're directly involved as it is. We just simply have the means to actually try and do something about it. Our resources aren't that great, and the resources that have been already applied to maintaining this city through altruistic endeavors, through all the government supplies that get shipped in, it's getting drained and drained more and more. There's less and less support to support a doomed project such as Midnight City. And something like sending in military-grade weaponry is something that's easy to excite people over, because people want quick, decisive decisions and solutions, no matter if they end up working or not. So this is what we find the situation we find ourselves in, and at that point you can hear the downstairs door, the heavy wooden door, just gonna open up, close, and you can see that the person who came from the Black Cat's pilot seat is slowly walking, very nonchalantly, not trying to get attention to themselves, more just running in late and not wanting to interrupt the meeting. Is walking in, and he's taking off his goggles. He has like the big goggles that strap around his head and from above, like the kind that you can strap like all sorts of thermal stuff on. And he's like taking those off, and while Tanya is still talking, and he's coming to take a seat on the table, but not right next to any of you, just on the table. If anybody wants to like react in any way to him, you're free to do so. Otherwise, Tanya will keep going on.
While Tanya was holding her speech, Liam is kind of like leaning on his hand with his head, kind of like, oh my god, this is the worst pitch ever, and he's like, ah. So as soon as the Black Cat guy kind of enters, he kind of picks up and like, ooh, who's that? And he just kind of almost totally zooms out Tanya and just focuses on this new guy who enters.
Okay. What about the rest of you?
Oh, Liam, I'm sorry, Mr. Brick. I popped it up when she's talking about the only ones who are heroes or wanting to be heroes. Mr. Brick like starts to raise his hand, but then puts it down, like not sure whether she was asking a question or. And several times he puts his hand up to like to answer, and then he figures it out that yeah, she's actually not asking any questions. So near the end, right before the mysterious stranger walks in, Mr. Brick does have his hand up, and he's looking at her, hoping that she calls on him.
Okay, what about Geist?
Geist just simply silently nods at what Vasilevich is saying, though occasionally he will chime in on his own. When she talks about what the mayor wants to do, he kind of makes his own politics slightly informed, as he'll make a snide comment about him. As when she says that about the mayor, he goes, and feel free to correct me, but I'm going to take some leeway here and just give this punk mayor a name.
There you go. Go right ahead.
It's always been common knowledge that Mayor Wernberg is nothing but a worm and a coward who suckled on the teat of the rich for a very long time in this city. That's why he's sitting nice, happy, and safe, while the rest of his public remain under siege. Such a wonderment that he was elected several times back to back.
Okay. While you say that, in between kind of her talking, she kind of continues there. From there, she kind of nods to you and says something like, "Indeed," and then just kind of takes a puff from her cigarette and continues where that continued on. But as the pilot is walking in and Mr. Brick clearly raises his hand and Liam is looking straight to that direction, she also kind of stops her own little speech there, and she also just kind of looks at there and says, "I don't think you've been introduced quite yet." And she says, "Manny," and the pilot guy kind of takes the ski mask that he has underneath the goggles and takes it off, and you can see the first thing you see is he has a turtleneck that's pretty much up to here. He has a black greasy hair, that's pulled back, and all of his sides are like completely bald, where it's like an undercut, hairstyle. And he has a thin black mustache above his upper lip, and he has a very gaunt face. He's like cheeks are very sunken in, and he has you can see very much the lines on his face. He has he's pretty skinny, and he has that kind of a, if you think of like a World War I army officer or something like that, kind of, a little bit of something like that, but the most distinctive feature about his appearance is something you notice only after looking at his face for a little bit, is that his skin is actually translucent. You kind of like what's wrong with your face? Oh, and it's you can clearly see pores and all sorts of muscle tissue and bone underneath his skin. The skin itself is kind of like this kind of gelatin kind of thing where where it's thicker, you don't quite see through it that much, but where it's thinner, where the bones and the stuff are closer to the skin, then you see it a lot clearer. And he takes that off and kind of swipes his hair and goes like that to his mustache and kind of looks up at everyone without saying anything. And he has a very inexpressive kind of look on his face. He has a very just kind of.
Do we have any indication on how old he is?
Under 40, so something like I would say maybe 35.
And how old is Tanya?
Tanya is around. She's close to her 60s.
Is this your son?
She kind of. No, not by any means. This is Manny. He's a vehicles expert. He's here to provide his services to the team. He will be piloting the ship, and he will be driving any vehicle that will be necessary throughout any mission. He is completely dedicated to the group. He's available 24 hours a day for service.
Geist will He'll do a head nod towards him of acknowledgement.
He will also nod back, but not say anything nor hold any real expression on his face.
Still with my hand in the air, I'm now looking like under my arm at him as he sits down, and there's a look of, at first maybe disconcerting, that's like wide-eyed as if he's going to say something like, "I like your skin."
He doesn't smile or anything. He just has that same expression. And Tanya kind of points her hand at Mr. Brick and says, "Mr. Brick?"
He he turns and he looks at her, and then he looks over to Manny and everyone at the table and looks. He just kind of like goes, "I don't know." He puts his hand back down, shrugs.
Okay. Well, she kind of says that, well, Manny was the first recruit I was able to get for this group. He's the only one with no superpowers in this little unit, but he more than enough compensates with his actual skills as a pilot. Yes, Mr. Brick.
He has cool skin. That's a superpower. I have cool skin.
Yes, that's very good, Mr. Brick. That's good. The situation after assessing last mission's reconnaissance and data is that indeed Mr. Brick was able to set a tracer on the truck that most likely would be used to transport the hubs that he discovered in the warehouse building on the docks. We have the locator right here, and since then the truck hasn't moved yet. I venture to guess that the commotion will be waited out for a little bit while they make sure that Ironside goes underground safely. But once it starts moving, we have our direct lead to follow, which will most likely lead us to their momentary or indeed an undisclosed base of operations, or if we're lucky. But that is one of our big leads. The other thing is that these tubes, these vats. Yes, Mr. Liam.
Is this what we're doing if we want to ask a question? We're raising our hand?
It's the most courteous thing to do in this situation.
All right.
Go right ahead.
If this Ironside, as we're talking about, right? If he's such a badass and the leader of this barbarians, why the hell is he going undercover? I thought he ruled this city more or less.
He does, but he tends to do it from the shadows. I've personally never seen...
Sorry.
I've personally never even seen the man, nor do I know the extent of his powers. But if what Geist reported about his appearance, about having some sort of a hellish cannon as his arm, I venture to think he operates more through influence than sheer force of power. So in that sense, it makes sense. But then again, we're not clear in the motives and the end goals of their operations as of now. So they would all be wild guesses why specifically he prefers to stay underground. His vassals certainly do not.
I have a few guesstimations as for that.
You should raise your hand.
He just turns silently towards you and then turns right back towards Vaslovich. His arm looks like some sort of graft. Hellish in design, yes. Probably some sort of pseudo-experiment gone mad. Probably in his best interest to, perhaps stay in the shadows. This place is known for having its leaders constantly hijacked. His vassals wouldn't have much of a problem. They would always be strutting their stuff, as it were. But eventually they too will get replaced. No. He's trying to make sure they all weed each other out, so that there's only a choice few.
Go ahead and say that out loud because the people watching can't see the text. You're muted.
Damn that
You're
mute!
muted.
Yeah, I got it. I kind of lean over to Mr. Brick while Geist is giving his monologue, and I said, like, bad manners, am I right? Jeez.
So, Mr. Brick kind of nods, then looks over and he's like, I think he's the boss. He can say what he wants.
Oh, we have two bosses now? Really? Wow.
Oh, no. Yo. Yeah?
Too much info to handle. Okay. But yeah, like Geist was speculating about the enemies weaving themselves out there and all that. Tanya Vasilievich kind of, also adds that before we get the truck moving, before we get to follow its lead, there's certain investigative operations we could enact on. There's these tubes, like by the way, has Mr. Brick mentioned that he like oh no, actually, forget I said that.
No, he hasn't brought that up yet.
Okay. These tubes. You said that there were 10 of them exactly. Am I right, Mr. Brick?
Oh, yes. Yeah, I counted them several times to make sure.
You also said right before this mission you were on your own private mission where you, by happenstance, discovered that there was a kidnapped group of 10 children precisely.
Yes, exactly. I hope weren't going to be used as experiments. So
thanks to you, they are not, because they are now safely with their families, or as safe as can be. But they surely, since they were abducted by the Leather Masters, most likely they were headed to that direction. Most likely, if you hadn't been at the warehouse, you would have run into them at the warehouse at the docks, where you ran into the tubes. And that is something that concerns me greatly about Ironside's possible plans. If there's a control group of some kind, if there's a group of children for some sort of scientific experiment with these vats, one can only imagine what the outcome is aimed to be.
You see Mr. Brick's facial features kind of switch and change, and instead of being wide-eyed and observant, he kind of like narrows slightly, and he's like, ma'am, when I was younger, I was raised in a lab, and there were things like this in that lab. Though I don't remember others being there, I remember being experimented on.
Do you know where this is? Wait. She kind of sizes you up and says, this wouldn't happen to be the exact... That was 15 years... This wouldn't happen to be the laboratory facility that's our illustrious Silverstream destroyed. And she immediately, more nervously, kind of sucks on the cigarette.
Yeah, I mean, Mr. Brick doesn't recognize it. You can see he obviously doesn't recognize it. Like, I never saw anyone, but I was there for 18 years before the place collapsed.
Excuse me for a moment. She kind of walks off, goes to the next room where there's a bookshelf, and you're gonna hear like she's only visibly behind a wall. There's no door. There's just doorways, and you can hear her pulling out a book from the shelf, and she walks back to the table.
As soon as she stands up, Mr. Brick stands up, like as if that's just polite society, and then waits for her to come back, and then sits down when she sits down.
Okay.
And then scowls at everyone else.
Okay. She comes back with a book that's something like a 200-page book, nothing too big. It has like white covers and a hardback. She places it on the desk in front of Mr. Brick so that he can be the prime person to see it, and it has the Buckler's logo on it with blood spurts on it, and Mr. Brick can read, am I right?
Yes, he can. Not great, but he can read, yeah.
Yeah, okay, like if he goes through, he can...
Yeah, he kind of sticks with comics because that's easier for him to read, but yeah, he can read. So.
Okay, good. Yeah, the name of the book right on the cover is The Lord is My Shield. The Lord is My Buckler and Shield. And it says just Silverstream underneath as the author, the kind of artist name of the author there. And Vasilievich is kind of standing there next to you as you're around the table, and she says, "This here," and she kind of thumps her finger on top of the book. "This insane rambling that this little book here is it's the only thing I have left of that event. It's Dante's Inferno, basically. It doesn't lend much usable information for anyone, but that's pretty much the only recollection of it because I was leading the Bucklers even then when it happened, and I was on the other side of the headset when it occurred. All that I still have the recordings of that stored up in the databanks in the Forge. All that I was able to read was Silverstream, our little chemist, following a lead into a laboratory facility, and then the next thing being reported in was her repeatedly in a state of shock, I would believe, of some kind, simply repeating, 'Holy Christ, Holy Christ, Holy Christ.' And then the next thing is the place is blowing up, and the rest of the team were sent there only to find the place destroyed and Silverstream nowhere to be found. She lives in Arizona these days, in Phoenix. She still goes under that name, and she's cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. She lost her senses pretty much after that. And
Mr. Brick is slowly, like, using his pointer finger to go through the pages very gently, knowing that he easily rips things and breaks them. Not just perusing it quickly and looking at it, but not really looking at anything in particular. And kind of looks up. He's like, "I don't know if it's the same place. I never left or was allowed to leave the rooms that I was in, but it collapsed, and it took me a long time to dig my way out."
I would think so. Yet I must reiterate that I know very little of this whole incident, and these days the ruins of that facility are located in the territory of the Throwaways, another gang. Thankfully, though, one of the very few gangs who you can actually negotiate with. I would think that while we're waiting for the signal to let us know when the truck is getting on the move, that might be a lead worth following. That might be something to look into. If the ruins would reveal anything that's linked to what they're planning on doing with these control groups, because most likely at this very moment they're already looking for opportunities to snatch a new batch of kids for it. Why wouldn't they? It's most likely inevitable that the operations they're planning will go off unless we do something about it, and the only way we can is to be informed. Now, since the last mission ended only less than an hour ago, I would say that all of you have your own free time to yourselves to recuperate and make sure that you're 100% ready to move once this little dot on this tracer starts to move. And I will be following it very directly myself and feeding you info once it happens, but this is something that could be very useful to look into. And Manny, of course, is ready to take you whenever you need to go.
Mr. Brick raises his hand.
While Mr. Brick raises his hand, what was Liam?
Yeah, Liam, Mr.
Is he
Brick.
raising his hand too?
Yeah.
Okay. Since Mr. Brick had been talking more recently, Vasilievich turns to Liam and says, "Yes?"
Is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs the official term we use within these doors to describe somebody who's lost their marbles?
Lost their marbles is a fine term as well. Mr. Brick?
I feel that nothing good can come out of that lab, and I don't think we should let those pod thingies go. I don't remember ever being in one, but my memory, if they're experimenting on children, I feel I should have destroyed them instead of tagging them.
If you were to have destroyed them, then we would have been without leads, because if they're not planning on shipping them to a new location where to continue their experiments, we would have nothing to go on. Simply following the truck by itself or following individual members of the gang wouldn't lead up to major operations. This, in turn, will most likely do that. So by withholding your emotions and your judgment on the outrageous experiments they will most likely be wanting to conduct, you have saved us lots of headaches. And in the future, when the fates of other children are to be looked after, this is going to be a major step in stopping further tortures from taking place. Yes, Liam?
Are we assuming that they're planning on making other people with superpowers?
That is a logical leap, though it would still be speculation. But that would be disclosed if something were to be found in the ruins of a laboratory where such experiments were conducted.
So why exactly do we exist?
How do you mean? You mean
what is our function?
Our function is to maintain order and destroy these gangs and destroy their operations. We are of the size where we can't simply go openly, and the end goal is not to kill every single gang member in the city. That would not be very beneficial. That's what the army would do, and they would just kill a bunch of innocent civilians
As
in
she
the
says that, I look at Geist, by the way, like, I kind of point at her like, uh-huh.
Yeah, and Mr. Brick sits back and goes,
The thing is that all these gangs, that they're committing acts of violence and murder every second of the day. So there's no realistic possibility for us to be able to stop each and every one of those things. And if everyone were to be working by themselves on their own, they might come across enough violence every day where they would feel like they're accomplishing something big by preventing murders from taking place. But when it comes to major operations that will either strengthen the gangs from their current strengths and influence, and also operations that would demand the deaths of hundreds upon hundreds, those are the ones where you need to be organized, and you need to have resources, you need to have reconnaissance, and you need to have security, you need to have people looking out for your back. Already in the prior mission at the docks, it was clear to see that it was but one mistakes away from turning into an absolute nightmare for all of us. So even at our full strength, going head on against these gangs isn't going to work.
Yeah, that's actually a really good point because from what I gather, I kind of, because I'm sitting next to Mr. Brick on the other side, and I'm assuming Geist is sitting on the other side of Mr. Brick, I kind of pat Mr. Brick so on his shoulder, like slamming against stone. Because this guy over here, he can just run through a hail of storm and bullets and come out undent. And I kind of point over at Geist, who says, and bullets just pass right through him. Little old me, though, I get shot and I'm out for the count.
Yes. As a matter of fact, as soon as you have already left the hangar, I already turned to Mr. Brick and asked him, and he positively complied, of course, knowing him, to take it upon himself to look out for your safety, to be your personal guard in these matters, where if it suits the mission for you to stand behind the lines in any dangerous situation, he will look after you and make sure things like that don't happen. That's his speciality, looking out for the vulnerable.
don't worry, Leo. I'll be the wall.
In
Nice.
truth, that is each of our responsibilities, to look out for the other. We are, after all, a team. And as he says that, he almost can't believe those own words that he is saying. I think it would be prudent to look up to this laboratory. I think it is a prudent theory that they would be trying to make more superhumans. It would tip the scales in their favor and allow them to gain an adjunct control.
Aren't the skills already in their favor?
Not enough.
What, they can't take the three of us on?
They can't take the city on. Besides them, there's the throwaways. There's the National Christian Army. There's the Ghost Division, and of course, there's the police up north. Even the three vassals serving under the barbarians, they haven't been able to move past northern and southern frontiers to take over further territories. They're still working under Ironside's orders, which seem to somehow influence restraint in not throwing themselves to an absolute meat grinder, and instead hold the territories they already have instead of expanding too fast.
Precisely. And on top of that, we also don't know the loyalty of his vassals. Who's to say that one of them isn't waiting for an opportunity to take over the throne, as it were? No, they're all cutthroat to the bone. Whatever shred of loyalty they might have might be easily shred upon the opportunity of gaining a lot of power. He's going to play it safe.
Fair enough.
So, the way we have things laid out in front of us, I will look out for the signal to change, and in the meanwhile, you're tasked with, again, searching the premises of the ruined factory. I will also reiterate that you all have free use of your time, and this will not be as clear-cut of a mission as the prior one was. This is something that that would be beneficial for the group, but also I will not strain you from one mission directly to another one only to pull you into yet another one once the signal starts to move. So make sure you don't overexpand yourselves, and make sure that you're 100% when the time comes when this starts to move. But if you're going to go to the ruins, you can't go into the throwaways territory without their permission, and that is the good thing about them. They're ideologues, they're naive, they have a strange set of beliefs about morals and whatnot, of ethical treatment of the disenfranchised and whatnot, and a severe hatred for authority figures. They can be easily found, and they can be easily negotiated with. They're quite open for people to sit down with them and talk. Sue, the leader of the gang, holds her base in the castle. It's an abandoned giant shopping mall right in the center of the ghetto that never got finished before this all happened. But that's where you'll find her, and that's where you can go and talk to her and get the permission I'm sure she will give you to roam through the ruins of the lab facility.
As much as I am obliged to work together with the gang, why is it that we need to ask their permission? Why can't we just go through there anyways? I'm sure our pilot here is well accomplished enough to make stealth maneuvers.
He just, his expression is just kind of, not too expressive, but he's clearly paying attention, not saying anything. Vasilievich is kind of going, seeing as that's the only gang around. Yes, I would say the only gang around with even a moniker of good faith in that regard. I would not wish to entice their ire upon us and make ourselves an extra enemy, a direct enemy, by provoking them. From the east, we already have these the barbarians and their vassals, and if these people from the south, from the ghettos, were to actively become aggressors against us, we would be in a very dire situation. So a little powwow around a table wouldn't hurt. Would it?
Agreed. However, though I have read the reports, I understand that they have been applicable over the years. I still don't fully trust them. However, I will cooperate in this accord.
Geist, nor should you. Well, this concludes our little meeting.
Ma'am, I have one request.
Please.
We're going to be a team, the Longswords, and you gave me this awesome belt, and it's got the symbol on it and the mask, and I hate to bring it up, and I don't want to embarrass Liam, but he doesn't have a mask or anything that says he's part of our crew. Geist has his outfit, and our driver Manny even has an outfit that says that he's a superhero. And we've heard how powerful Liam is. He yelled it out to us all on the radio.
She turns her gaze at Liam with a smirk on her face. Not saying anything, just looking at Liam.
I kind of raise an eyebrow, noting the smirk. And I'm like, oh, yeah, you're going to pay for this. I said, I look, yeah, why is that, Tanya? Why don't I get a mask and an emblem and stuff? I mean, am I a second-rate superhero here? What?
Well, the thinking behind that is simply to save the tiny amount of resources it would take to manufacture them when you can conjure them from thin air.
Oh, okay. All right, yeah. Well, I'll try to get something for myself. Maybe I'll sew something or something.
I can help you, Liam.
Oh, thanks, buddy.
I made my mask, my head mask. It looks pretty good.
It looks awesome.
Just a towel.
Is it a towel? No, you can't. You're kidding me, right? I just stand up and start inspecting his mask. This is a towel. You're kidding me.
Yes, a silk towel, but yes, it's nice.
It is nice. How do you get the eyes to kind of move like that?
Oh, I have really big eyebrows.
Ah, right. Yeah. Well, I'm not that lucky. Yeah. Sweet. Hey, this meeting is over, right?
She nods.
Hey, I kind of pat Brick on his shoulder and say, "Come on, buddy. I need your help with something."
Okay. Ma'am nods to her and waits again for her to nod to let him leave, and then he.
She
I
nods.
look at Tanya and say, "Dismissed, ma'am. Bye."
Okay. Also, Manny, the pilot, stands up from the chair and goes back to the door that leads downstairs to the forge and to the hangar. So that there's only Geist still around the table there.
He silently sits there for a while, a little unnerving, really, seeing as how, again, with his face, there is only just the cowl and those white sockets just staring out into the vast distance in front of the visual range of Vaslovich as he looks upon her. And as the others leave the room, he looks back. Quite a light-hearted lot we have.
Well, we'll have to settle for what we can get.
They got a lot of skill to them. A lot of potential, especially in Liam. And Mr. Brick, well, I could see a lot of potential in him as well. Just curious to see how deep that power goes in each of them.
Keep your eye on them. Make sure they do what's best. The most concerning thing for me is their motives, not their powers, as it were. It's them losing themselves, them being afflicted by this place the way we've seen it afflict people all around us. If they see too much of the horror show that this city is, if something snaps in their heads, let's just say that this job requires an immense amount of self-control.
I don't think self-control is the word for it. I think it's more of acceptance. This city is the way it is. Not a day went by that I didn't go back to that site to look for it. I tried to find out what happened, and I found nothing. It's been this way for 5 years. You know that as well as I.
They don't tend to rebuild in this city too much. It's still the same damn sinkhole it was 5 years ago.
Yeah. Yes, it is. Another grave, amongst many. I don't intend to coddle them. I want them to see those horrors, not to change them. That's for themselves to decide. No, no, they have to see what it is that they're dealing with. They have to confront that. That's the cancer beneath this city. They have to see it. They have to face it. At some point, they're going to have to ask themselves how they're going to deal with it. I already have my answers. But at some point they'll have to do theirs. I'll guide them the best I can. But in the end, all I can do is show them doors. They'll have to walk through them.
I'm glad it's you who's showing the doors, though.
As she says that, he glances at that window, sees his own reflection, and the words that Vasilovich says before earlier, self-control and all this. And not mere hours beforehand, Geist was sending men, gang members, 6 feet under, allowing their bodies to collide and intermerge in a spasm of molecular combobulation into a death splatter. Oh yes, he remembers that quite vividly. And he looks back at her. Perhaps time will tell if I was a good role model in this instance. I'll do the best that I can. But I'll be lying if I said this city hasn't changed all of us, especially myself. Then he slowly gets up and turns, walks away. He'll be making his way up to a quiet study where he can sit down and brood.
When you kind of turn and start to walk away, you can still, on the side of your eye, you can see that Tanya takes the last huff from her cigarette and then just flicks it into the fire in the hearth and sits down on the desk with the and kind of just looks at the cover of the book that she has in front of her. The same book she was actually being interviewed about in the intro session on the TV little opening there. So yeah, Liam and Mr. Brick are on their way where exactly?
Yeah, I kind of check with Mr. Brick if I say, have you been in before?
No, but I know the downstairs. See, in in the Buckler's annual #1, there was a layout of the whole place, and it was pretty extensive. So I think I know it pretty well.
What?
I know the I don't have.
No. Wait. There's a map of our place where we stay in a comic book.
Well, it's at a secret location.
Of course, yeah. Is there a place where where the Bucklers would train?
Oh yes, it's a massive gymnasium.
Can you lead me there?
Of course.
Excellent. Because I need your help. We were in the plane, or I was in the plane, and this, I'm assuming it once was a woman, but it might never have been male or female, kind of came in there, and she attacked the plane and me, and she did something I thought nobody could, which is not uncommon, but I want to check it out on you, because I kind of tap his his bicep, like, yeah, you look kind of sturdy, and well, I see the way you jump through walls, so if anybody could do it, you should be.
Okay.
Are you in?
Yeah, he's all for it. Yeah, you can see him smiling, happy to be of help to you.
All right, come on.
All right. Meanwhile, Geist was heading to a study. There's an expansive library where Blademancer kept all sorts of like books about magic and scrolls and tomes and whatnot, plus actual regular books. But there's a very expansive library in this house. Or are you looking for anything specific, or are you like just looking to kind of kill time or be with your thoughts, or what?
Geist was sort of wanting to be alone in his own thoughts. Mostly he's just trying to figure out how he's going to reach out to Liam and Mr. Brick in a way that would make sense. But while he's doing it, he's also going through a nostalgia trip because he is back in the mansion once again, and seeing Platemancers, many sort of like statuesque knight figures standing about, brings back a flood of memories, and once more lost comrades. Knowing that that void is being filled up by this new team that is here, albeit a little bit smaller this time, but nonetheless new blood in the halls. But it's in a completely different time, in a completely different atmosphere. So that's what he's doing right now.
Okay. In that case, we'll go to the gymnasium then. After going through the building there, you manage to find yourself in an actual training facility there that the bucklers used to keep up. It's not an actual like. It's not like X-Men danger room or anything. There's no like actual robots coming at you. But it's like it's very much like a gymnasium. This very large area where you're free to train. Very much like in an athletic thing. So nothing that special. But it's like. It has that kind of medieval drapery kind of thing here and there, and also the modern stuff and that sort of thing. So
yeah, in my head I was picturing like this section of weights, but these weights are like massive, like compared to what normal people would have in the gym. To accommodate their massive bulk. Pump trunk being able to pick up the huge weights.
Yeah, lift them with his trunk.
Yeah. You're doing a little barbell, you'd be doing like these big, hammer things. I'm probably like a shooting range for them to practice their magic or whatever, something like that.
Yeah, exactly, that sort of stuff. Yeah.
So as I enter, like this one of these old-fashioned clothes hanger, coat hangers, kind of appear in the corner next to the door, and Liam takes off his coat and kind of hangs it on there, and he kind of walks to the middle of the gymnasium, and he says. All right, I want to check how strong you are. Is that okay?
Sure. You see, as he's saying that, he's like in awe, looking around. You hear him like whispering, like, "Oh my God, Pump Trunk picked that up over there. I bet. Whoa, Platemancer must have cast magic over there. And I bet Captain Phantom phased me. That's that.
Focus. Hey, focus.
I'm sorry. What did you want?
Oh God, I want to test out how strong you are. So,
sure. To pick up some of those metal things.
No, not like that. No. I kind of my hand goes into both my pockets and I pluck out two fistful of whatever there's in my pockets, and I kind of hold it, and I look at you and say, okay. Well, first try it easy. You see a weight appear in front of you, and Liam kind of focuses on it and says, "Can you lift that?"
Yeah, I guess it's just something with a handle, or is it just a big?
Yeah,
Man.
no, it's just like a dumbbell, this one when you
Okay.
like press above your head.
My size. Yeah, okay. So I reach down and grab it, and I don't know if I think I'm strong, but
Most likely, yeah. If Liam's concern is to see if basically if Mr. Brick is stronger than Cop Killer, the cyborg that attacked you, uh, most likely this first tier weight is something he can definitely pick up.
yeah,
Oh,
I grab it. And trying it harder than I need to, I almost like lift myself off the ground, like, "Whoa, oh yeah, that's light." He's like, "Yeah, I got this."
I look a bit disappointed and like, ah, shit. Um, am I putting already the maximum weight to this thing as I can?
Yeah, you can add to it. I was just expecting that you didn't start off with the heaviest.
No, no, no. I make a weight which is the maximum weight I can produce.
Oh, okay.
Oh, okay. But it's
Wait.
still like that kind of,
Yeah,
kind
it's
of
still
weight.
it's still in an easy form for him to lift, but
Oh, okay. How much was your construct ability?
I believe it was 10.
Okay, let's see how much weight that kind of implies in the actual chart. Because if there's actually something, how much does Mr. Brick have strength?
Mr. Brick has a 10 strength.
10. Damn.
Yes.
Might be that you're just, yeah. Well, in this, this chart here on the book kind of makes it seem that if you have 10 in the rank, you're able to, the mass is put down as 25 tons. And so I would expect that if your strength is 10, you can lift 25 tons. And if your conjuring is 10, you can conjure 25 tons. So, yep, I don't have a clear image in my head what weighs 25 tons. But if you can make like
Bill and I had worked it out. We were trying to figure out something that I could pick up, and we were going through different vehicles, right? I think.
Yeah, but the first weight wasn't that big. But Roger mentioned that he was in a direct, purposefully trying to create as heavy as an object as he possibly could.
Well, a good idea would be a city bus. That weighs 25 tons with.
Oh, okay, that's actually really good because I remember John explaining Mr. Brick's powers as being able to basically lift and maybe like for a short distance toss a regular car or something like
Yeah,
that.
that was how we came up with the number. We just picked a car or vehicle and said that's.
Yeah, that's right. Okay. Well, if Liam is intending to create as heavy of an object as he can of 25 tons, then Mr. Brick will be able to pick it up, though it will be his absolute top tier. It'll be, let's say, if you're a weightlifter, that's your maximum that you can lift up.
Yeah, Mr. Brick's under there going, "Rah!" and he starts yelling, "More! More!" He starts sweating. You see black droplets just start exuding from his face, and he's actually probably lifting more than he's ever tried to lift. In reality, he's probably never, except for maybe pushing those vehicles out of the way in the first episode, he hasn't really messed around with picking up massive objects. Normally he just runs through shit. That's usually his strength above. But yeah, in this case, he's actually enjoying the feel, the strength, every fiber, all that bone and muscle, and the rocks and the black ichor that squirt through his body is just kind of like pressing completely against it. Huge vascular, which would be inset in his skin normally, now are just pulsing to the surface, just shooting through his thing, these massive black veins as he's trying to hold up this huge weight.
Liam is focusing on it and is looking, and you see it kind of like, ah, shit. As all of a sudden the weight just disappears.
So,
When it disappears, it's almost like you struggle to actually hold it because it's such a quick, diversion from.
I almost find myself kind of like leaping off the ground and kind of like just almost like from exhaustion, just kind of falling down to my hand and knees. I'm like, that was heavy.
Yeah, but you could lift.
Something heavier.
No, I think this is pretty much the extent of how heavy I can make something. Yeah. All right, I want to try something else.
Okay. Sure.
Come on, get up.
But he's like kind of gets up. He's actually breathing heavy, which is probably the few times he never exerts himself to an extent like that. And he kind of brushes off those black droplets. Kind of does a ravishing Rick Rude thing, things like that. I'm ready.
All right, I'm gonna try to stop you. Don't be afraid. I kind of step to the side. I'm gonna see if I can prevent you from moving. I look around at the thing and I start to make lines which connect to the wall and kind of like all start connecting to him everywhere on his body, like coming from every angle, trying to stop him from moving.
Okay. That, however, does follow the same kind of logic where the strength of those straps can be 10 at the maximum. You know, the same kind of strength as the weight was on those weights that he was lifting. So again, if he exerts all his strength, he will be able to break through them, unless there's rolls being made where he might fail a few times first or something.
Exactly.
Like that.
That's a bit where I'm trying to look, because if we have indeed the same power level, as we should call it, it would be a draw, right? So the question is, would
normally you would roll. So now that you basically have the opportunity to fully concentrate, not have any irritants around you, not having any danger around you. I'm in this kind of situation, unless you want to roll.
No, that's fine. But I'm just trying to see if everything is optimal, would it stop him or would it always break? That's kind of where I'm trying to find, or is it just because in my opinion, if something is trying to prevent you from moving, and if you want to move through it, it's just a question of what wins.
Yeah, definitely, because the same way, pressing, the weight, it would stop you from moving because it would press you down. You have to push it away from yourself if you would want to, stop it from holding you down in the same kind of way. So if those straps are, wrapping around his wrists, he would have to it's just a different gym machine that he would just have to do the moves with.
Something like the straps, maybe I would probably be able to break through them one at a time and slowly move along. But as you're practicing, you probably figure out that if you just pin my body, my arms and my legs together, I can't break that because there's no momentum to just snap them. You know what I mean?
No, that's what I'm saying. If you're connected to everything from every side, can you get enough movement to make enough power to break through it, or is it just will your strength always be enough to just break it, whatever the situation? Liam is just trying to create situations where his power would have the upper hand in these kind of situations. I know that in stressful situations we would roll, but otherwise...
In our situation, you can probably... I would assume you can pin me. As long as I can't move, especially if I can't move, I can't get any mechanical advantage. We're so evenly matched that, I probably wouldn't be able to move. In my head, anyway. And then, obviously, like you said, if we had to ever face each other, we'd make opposed rolls. So
yeah.
I kind of see you just trying to practice different, almost like the Green Lantern would do to find the best geometric shapes or whatever to create the
exactly. Making the best of shapes and that sort of stuff, and angles which you would have to push through, that sort of stuff.
After an hour of just pure strain, you're probably figuring out the best ways to slow a superpower, someone my size down.
Yeah, and also the thing is that with both of you expending, yourselves him with his strength and you with your magic concentration and all that, even though it comes from an object, at some point there's especially with Mr. Brick, there will of course fatigue is going to kick in at some point, so there's that element to it as well. If you're like training for an hour with every time, him like having to expend his absolute maximum, it'll of course drain him.
Yeah, and then I will also try to practice with him where he would be moving, so that all of a sudden, I try to something grabs his foot, so that he would trip or something or that sort of stuff. I'll just try to see what the possibilities are. We'll just practice in every safer way.
Yeah, sure, of course. What were you saying, Phil, when I cut you off?
Yeah, and as you all practice, Geist floats in from the ceiling down below into the training room. His arms crossed, he silently leans up against the side of the wall, observing you. Whether or not you're aware of his presence, I'll leave to you.
In that case, I say there's a competitive stealth and what is it? Stealth and
just so you know, from Mr. Brick's thing, he is so engrossed with trying to help Liam that he feels that, he would not lose concentration. He's running around, trying to break anything he puts in front of him, trying to run to him. His full concentration is on Liam, and he's not afraid of anything here anyway, so he wouldn't be...
Okay, well, Liam, you roll an awareness roll competing against Geist's stealth.
Let's see. What's my awareness? How do I see that?
It should be underneath your skills.
No, it's ability.
Yeah, it's an ability. It's the fourth one over. Strength, agility, fighting, awareness.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. There we go.
I was thinking of perception. My bad.
That's 14.
Oh, I have a 15. I'm just one away.
Nice.
There you go.
You just stay hidden. You're like, did you say you're on the ceiling or in the wall or what?
No, he floats in silently through the ceiling, and then leans up against the wall, roughly about 25 feet away from them, behind Liam, just leaning there, his back against the wall, just watching, observing what they're doing.
All right.
After a while, though, he is going to speak up, and you'll hear the raspy voice looking out and saying, "Nice training regiment you've established there."
Liam almost jumps in the air like, what the f-? He grabs his heart and this like...
And immediately when you do that, the latest construct you were training with Mr. Brick, your concentration breaks on that, so Mr. Brick is kind of unleashed accidentally.
I have... He stops just inches away from him. Oh, I almost had you. Hi, guys.
Greetings, Mr. Brick.
Do you always sneak up on people like that?
Sorry, it's a bad habit of mine.
What's below that mask, anyways?
What's below the mask?
Yeah, what's underneath the mask? We never seen your real face.
When you ask that, Mr. Brick goes, "Oh, never asked that."
Too late.
I'm not really at liberty to showcase what's underneath of this mask. Suffice it to say, it would do little good. He begins to walk over to some of the equipment. I've seen you all have been sparring with each other. Excellent. But maybe you might want to use some of this equipment here.
Wait, you're not at liberty to show your own face?
Well, I can show you. I don't wish to.
Oh, well,
I'll
that's a
have to
fair
trust.
answer.
Yes, I'll just trust you to trust me on that one. Anyways, he walks over to like one of the equipments and he traces his hands over it. Mr. Liam, I think you'll find this instrument to be a benefit. Plate Man, sir, used to use this device a lot. I'm not quite sure how it worked exactly, but it helped him focus his magical energies, allowed him to meditate upon the aether, as it were.
Nice.
And Mr. Brick, you'll look over here, and he walks over to this room. You can find any sparring partner you wish here. And he like presses the side panel with this little half hemisphere, and he turns the knob on it, and like all of a sudden like these holographic images begin reshaping themselves like Lego blocks just coming up from the ground, building themselves up. And you see like this big blocky looking figure standing there. It looks like this onyx bull, like minotaur like creature. And he looks over at you. I remember this guy. Yeah. Black Bull. That was his name. Old Nemesis. Pretty vicious fellow he was. Skin was as hard as diamond. Tough son of a bitch. Pump Trunk. Always had a hard time with him. Always needed him and Gauntlet to take him out. I think you'll find this to be a worthy sparring opponent, of course, but I do think that your own sparring that you've been doing with each other is also quite innovative, to say the least. It's good to do this. It's good to practice these things. This training hall here is obviously that of the old bucklers, but its equipment is still useful and functional. If you have any other questions about it, let me know. I do know its insides very well.
Mr. Brick walks towards you. He's got a white towel that's now kind of black from all his sweat that he's been drying off with. Walking towards you, and he says, looks at you, he's like, Geist, you read the comics too?
The comics?
Yeah, you know all about the bucklers. I thought I was the only one.
Oh, well, you'll find that there are plenty of people who might know about the bucklers. They were quite popular back in those days.
Yeah, but you knew cool stuff like this hollow thingy. With that, he's like looking down at you, and he's like just caught a glimpse of your buckles. And he's like, you have buckles. They're bucklers. He's like, where did you get those? Can I have one?
Wait, did you kill the bucklers?
He looks at you with a sharp gaze, and then like turns quickly back at Mr. Brick with these barrage of questions, and then responds back with, "No, I didn't kill any of the bucklers.
Like,
and no, you cannot have any of the buckles. There are none left. Just these."
Yeah, Mr. Brick kind of nods at me. He's like, I understand. Those are definitely collector items. They look real.
He kind of looks down at them, and then glances back up. They are real.
He's like, where did you find? Were the buckles here? And he starts looking around as if maybe miraculously there'll be a buckle shelf somewhere in here that he might get a buckle.
And as you do so, he'll walk over to a panel and kind of hit a button on it, and you hear like a doot 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 doot. And with that buzzing and whirring noise, lights begin to, and you'll see like this wall of trophies and statues and various like just like before in the mansion, but like even more of these strange accoutrements from the many adventures of the bucklers to be had. You know, you'll see like Pump Trunk's wrestling trophy that he has, and gauntlets, legendary alternate gauntlets that he wore. Yes, all of those sitting around.
Wait, you
Plate
stole
masters.
these from here?
Stole these. This used to be the hideout of the bucklers. It would make sense that their accoutrements would still be here.
Yeah, but why are you wearing them?
Because I knew them. It's an old trinket. Something to remember them by.
Mr. Brick is staring at the trophy. He's just totally enamored. And it kind of turns. He's like, "You knew them? You knew? Did you know Captain Phantom? He's my favorite, or was."
Is he now?
I think we're gonna save him though. He's trapped in another dimension.
His hand kind of goes up to his mask a bit, and he kind of looks like he's rubbing his temple a bit as you say that, pinching that mask, and then looks back up at you. I don't think Captain Phantom's going to need much saving.
How do you know?
Of course, Liam. He doesn't need saving because Captain Phantom can do anything.
No.
But maybe he needs help.
Help, perhaps. Yes, help would definitely be the thing. Anything, though, he can't do anything. He is limited in what he can do.
Well, this was fun. I have something to investigate. Thanks for the help, Mr. Brick, and guys, thanks for creeping everybody out. And we'll talk later. All right, bye.
Anytime, Liam. And don't forget to make your mask.
We'll talk about my mask and what ideas you have about that. Okay.
Okay, he just kind of walks over, not even finishing his statement.
Oh, don't touch, don't touch.
I wasn't going to touch. As he
All
pulls
right.
him back from about to touch the Pump Trunk's trunk.
Okay. What's everybody doing then?
Geist is just going to stay in the training room then, making sure that Mr. Brick doesn't damage every valuable relic he just showed him.
Okay. And what about Liam? He mentioned investigating something.
Yeah, Liam is going to go to the reflection pool, and he's going to empty his pockets, and having two hands full of stones in his pockets, not being able to close his hands, and he looks at the reflecting pool, looks around, makes sure the doors are closed and nobody's here, and he just kind of lets go and kind of pushes them up. And as they do, they kind of start to swirl around and start to form lines and things, and kind of like a snake moving about. And you see Liam kind of moving his hands carefully, not very controlled, not very like he's done this 100 times before. He's really like he's almost having trouble keeping the snake into motion.
But this is a construct, right? Or is it an illusion or what?
No, it's magic.
Oh, okay. Nothing
And
as specific as
no,
as
it's just
constructs.
it's pretty much just fancy for the show to watch. So it's just kind of, and the runes just kind of take in key locations of this reflexive pool, and as they lie there, they start to glow, and the runic symbols which are carved on each of the stones just start to light up, and Liam kind of puts his hands against the side of this this pool and closes his eyes, trying to more or less attune himself to this object that is strange and alien to him, and trying to see if he can learn about it and find out what it does.
All right. Well, while you're doing that, the pool itself, it's you feel that when you get close to it and you touch it physically and all that, and you feel the this kind of magic essence with this form of those snakes and stuff, flowing around you and all that. When you go to the reflecting pool with this concentration and this kind of attunement with this kind of magic energy around you, you feel almost like the energy kind of going from your fingertips through the kind of hieroglyph-like carvings around the rim of the reflecting pool, and kind of making full circle and returning back to you, where they kind of felt like some kind of a ripple or signal kind of went on, and you feel like you can feel like light emanating from the reflective pools, like fluids there. Just this kind of, it becomes kind of brighter and illuminates your skin on your face and hands and stuff when you're right there yourself. And there are certain kinds of feelings and kind of visual cues that you get when you get close to it, which are that you get these short flashes, not like these kind of cutting in flashes, just this kind of calm and kind of this just kind of couple of second long, just flashes of someone basically being Platemancer himself, someone completely covered in a shining knight's armor, not revealing even a slight pore of anything underneath, just kind of plate up top of plate, with a flowing cloak behind him, and a staff that it's basically like the handle of a sword, with a sword still at the tip, just kind of stirring the reflective pool's fluid surface there, and you get flashes of seeing him on the other side of the pool on another kind of visual cue, just kind of pouring something from some sort of a jar, some kind of stylized jar with a very like flowy kind of crane-like shape to it, just kind of pouring some liquid substance into the pool, and you see him also making gestures with his hand, kind of drawing symbols into the air and saying magic words, just kind of mumbling them. You can't make them outright, but you also see, as this kind of last thing, you see these three almost like shadowy figures with silhouettes that you could make out because of seeing the place and seeing the trophies and stuff. You can make out that there's Pump Trunk clearly, there's Gauntlet, and there's Captain Phantom there. Everyone in these kind of poses, and you can see the familiar character of Platemancer kind of stirring the reflective pool and going Sim Salabim at all of them, teleporting away in these construct plate armors that kind of very in this Iron Man way, just kind of build around them, and they just kind of do the reverse and just kind of go away. But when they go away, there's nothing underneath because it's been teleported. Just this kind of teleportation with the armors there, and those are the kind of visions that you get. These kind of montages of visions from the field, this pool. But that's something that kind of takes a little while. It's
Yeah,
like
I'll spend a considerable time with that.
yeah, like an hour or something.
Oh, I was planning hours, so
Oh, okay, okay.
yeah, I'm
Well,
just gonna sit there and depending on how intense the visions are and how intense it is, it's Liam is almost going at it as in he's trying to how would I put it? He's probably trying to kind of win the fountain of the spring for him. Like he's almost going at it as this thing is almost a sentient being, being very careful, being very gentle, and not just focusing on the reflective pool itself, but he'll also give a bit of himself. He'll allow whatever it is there to kind of also get the gist of him, who he is, and trying to, like almost like a mating dance, which takes hours and that sort of stuff to get to know each other.
all right. Um, this is something that requires so much concentration and stuff that if anyone's planning on, getting in touch with Liam or interrupting him in any way, this will kind of, stop before it gets started too far. What is Geist and Mr. Brick gonna be doing for the next hour or so? Because
I've locked the doors, by the way, just so not to be disturbed.
that won't hold back either of them. But
No,
still, still,
it
yeah.
gives off a certain signal.
Still, what is Geist and Mr. Brick up to during this time? Because, like Roger said, he's gonna be expending hours onto it.
Well, Geist is certainly not going to be trying to interrupt people during any of their exercises. He kind of gives people their breath of space quite noticeably and easily. But he will stick around Mr. Brick for a while, making sure that because at this point he's actually trying to put in some effort to kind of make some connection to Mr. Brick here, and he will just kind of stick around and answer any of the questions that he might have about the facility and stuff.
Okay, but you're not like planning on doing something decisive which would require calling Liam out or anything like that.
Oh, no, he's not. I mean, he's not going to do anything like that, and he's going to not try to exhaust himself at all. And he still has those flashbacks that occur, though he tries to wipe them from his mind, which is right now fatiguing him quite a bit.
All right. What about Mr. Brick?
Basically, just at first, I mean, he's examining all the trophies and the items. I mean, obviously, that's something that's extremely fascinating to him. And every once in a while, he'll whisper something or say something to Geist. Not even like a real question, just, oh, I remember this from this issue, or this is where this is where Gauntlet used this Chrome Gauntlet instead of the regular Gauntlet to beat that Chrome blah 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 guy or something. But after a while, he kind of notices. He's perceptive enough to notice that really Geist just seems to be hanging there, but not really. Not that he's ever seen Geist enjoy himself, really, but he doesn't seem to not be. He just seems to be just standing there more for just to see how I react a bit than would normally do. And just out of the blue, he turns and he's like, "Geist, I'm sorry that I let that lady hurt you. I should have been there quicker." And, he just turns right back and starts looking at the items on the wall.
What do you mean?
Well, when I got there, there was a lady standing over you. If I had got there sooner, then maybe she wouldn't have done whatever she did to you.
I appreciate that, Mr. Brick. However, you must realize that you can never sit there and blame yourself for things that you cannot accomplish. You were quite a distance away, and I was caught off guard. My own moment of weakness allowed that to happen. I won't let that happen again, however. And as for them, well, let us hope that I never cross paths with her again. I will put her 6 feet under.
With that black cat, I turn and face Geist, and well, did you notice when I got there, she was standing over you, and she kind of like did something with her hands, and I kind of like was afraid, and I've never really been afraid before, but I was thinking that if she could knock you out, then what could I do to stop her from knocking me out, since no one can even touch you, so I don't even know how to fight something like that. And that's like fighting, like, Liam can create solid objects, but what if he shot me with something that I can't physically stop? And it just has been really going through my mind. And it makes me think of when I was in the lab and the experiments they did on me.
I
guess
see.
I'm just confused, I guess. And I don't know how to fight that. How do I stop them?
Her powers appear to be somewhat mental. She's able to get inside of my head and get me to submit. But she can do more. Far more. Yes. Her abilities enable her to enter the mind itself and manipulate its strands like a puppet on a string. Yes. Probably one of her many talents. You are right to fear such a thing. It's not every day that we encounter such abilities, but we have encountered things like that in the past. And there is a way to defeat it. You must have a strong mind, a will, and you must be able to push forward with it. Use whatever means necessary you can, whether it be hatred, anger, whatever it is that can block it out. It must be overpowering. But I noticed, briefly, in the states of consciousness and unconsciousness, there was fear. She seems like the controlling type. Yes. It would make sense.
I sort of gesture to the gigantic gymnasium. He's like, is there a way we can train to be stronger?
There are many ways. There are many ways we can do that. If I do recall, there is an alien device somewhere here. I wouldn't advise using it, though. It is quite dangerous. Something called what was it again? The Kizarax Haderach. Yes. You place it upon your mind, like a helmet of sorts. The device simulates your worst fears constantly until you have overcome it. But I wouldn't advise using it. It is a dangerous device. The last person that used it died horribly. Not physically. Physically they were alive. Their bodies were comatose, however. Their mind was shattered completely into 1,000 pieces.
Oh, I don't want that then.
I think their soul was taken as well by some quasi-dimensional demon. He kind of just stares back at like the training room and starts looking around and stuff.
Yeah, Mr. Brick kind of overwhelmed with the words that you've just used to describe things, demons, hell, souls being ripped apart, has just kind of not only not completely understood what you're talking about, he's just gone back to staring at the wall. And then maybe after a couple hours, he'll turn and say, Geist, I'm hungry. Can we eat?
Mr. Brick, you don't need to ask me for permission to eat. You're an adult.
Right. Oh, I didn't want to bother. I meant, would you want to get something to eat with me, is what I meant. I didn't want to bother you.
I am a bit famished, and I do have a place that I often frequent. I'll show you. Come on.
All right. So Mr. Brick spent hours just zoned out and then recommended the eating thing.
Well, he was exhausted from working out with me. I think that's the only time that he's ever been tired. Kind of with his powers, with his super high stamina and his regeneration, I don't think he actually gets tired physically, but
Yeah,
but I like to think that working out at peak efficiency for hours kind of made him tired. Really, he just wanted to spend time with Geist.
Yeah.
Oh,
that gives ample time for Liam to do his magic thing. But yeah, go right ahead.
Actually, he's going to stop by where Liam is at, but not interrupting. He is going to put a little sticky note onto the door.
Yeah, but Mr. Brick did spend hours on this, so Liam will have had hours to spend on his magic thing before you even arrive. So in case your timetables happen to match perfectly, you wouldn't interrupt him unless he plans on making it even further. But yeah, in that case, I'll turn back to Liam, as he was in the process of this, like you described, the process you're going through, that you're spending lots of time on. As you're they're concentrating on the all the magical energies and auras around the room, and especially around the reflecting pool there. When you feel like this emanating kind of surge of energy, kind of flowing almost like invisible steam from the reflecting pool itself, and you feel all these not like literal scents in the air or sounds in the air or anything like that. Or you just kind of feel them in this kind of sixth sense of magic, that's ingrained in you, and you feel almost like where are you keeping the stones? Are you keeping them in your hands, or are they on the floor somewhere, or?
Well, it kind of depends on how you want to do this, but for me personally, I think that most of the stones, like I mentioned, are now kind of sticking to the reflective pool and are kind of glowing and are kind of more or less translating for me the inscriptions and that sort of stuff. And it's kind of my link to this pool at this time, because I have no link or had no link. So, and depending on the process, how far I'm connected already to this pool, I'm more or less imagining Liam kind of floating, and these stones are kind of twirling around him in circles and things where both information is coming in and going out and just flowing through him.
Okay, like flowing, like levitating?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you like in a meditative kind of stance or something, or are you?
Well, he's not like sitting there with like home, but he's just kind of like floating, and it's just deep in thought, and his mind is just somewhere else, and he's pretty much seeing everything in runic signs and that sort of thing. So.
Okay. Well, as you are doing that, since the hieroglyphs are very much like drawing descriptions of different things that aren't familiar to you because they're not like actual Earth languages.
Exactly.
The way the runes are helping you kind of interpret them, and the kind of encryption that's been like housed into those carvings on the reflective pool's rim. Uh, the way they kind of come to you is that you feel like each one of them at a time is getting like kind of like analyzed and interpreted and then translated to you through these flowing runes and all these things kind of passing through you and all this surge of magical energies and stuff. Since you're also kind of a novice in this, you've been trained by your aunt in the usage of these on the basics. Basically, you have like kind of like basic training in magic and a little bit above that, but you're not like a sorcerer supreme or anything like
No,
that.
no, but if I look at my skill, my expertise magic is 12.
Oh, damn! I had
That
forgotten
is
that.
considerable.
Yeah, that is a considerable amount. So yeah, there you go. Okay, in that case, um, uh, what is Phil writing? I can't concentrate. Okay, sorry. Yeah, as you're kind of floating there deep in thought and meditation, and all these things are swirling through your body and your mind and your spirit and all that stuff. What you're seeing basically is like the hieroglyph in your mind's eye, kind of being like expanded and kind of depicting an actual scene. Like one of the hieroglyphs there is depicting a scene of basically this very epic kind of portion of just kind of space where different comets and all these different debris are kind of like smashing into one another and kind of attaching onto one another, and gravity pulling them towards one another, crashing into one another, and spinning fast in this kind of a force of gravity, and with attracting all sorts of gases and natural minerals and stuff from from space, and compressing into this this hot ball of mass into basically that forms the birth of a planet in space. This kind of just this very like over the top, this kind of this kind of visions coming of this birth of an entire world. And as you go into the hieroglyphs further, and you feel like all these kind of pores of sweat kind of dripping on you as you're kind of expending your self through the concentration, as it is taking a long time, and it is taking it's kind of like this intense energy to experience. Um, and another hieroglyph kind of a little further away from it kind of again starts to expand in front of you, where you see this very rock-like ball just floating in space that looks like the planet that's been formed, but it's completely barren and just nothing but rock and stuff with no real atmosphere to speak of. It's just kind of spinning on its own little oval there, on its own little pattern there around this bright star quite close to it, and you see this asteroid field kind of flowing through space and flowing right past it, and again smashing onto the side of it, and on one of the little asteroid blocks of ice there through space just kind of shatters into it, and on its side is some sort of substance, something translucent, something bright and glowing, something liquid, and as it kind of breaks it, this fluid gel-like substance starts to kind of expand and kind of seep into all sorts of pores in the planet's surface. And as it again feels like it's getting intense, and another hieroglyph is kind of like being like formed in front of your mind's eye, as it depicts this planet eons later, just like this, just entire like species on Earth just going extinct and rising up, and stars dying in the distance and being reformed and stuff. This substance that smashed onto the surface of this newborn barren planet has in that time completely engulfed it, and the planet has turned completely like pale white and glowing, and the substance on top of it has a pulse, just this, and it has like nerves and nerve endings going all through the planet itself. The planet's entire surface is covered in this gel-like jellyfish-like substance, this entire sea of this same-looking substance that is in the reflecting pool, and as it gets further and further into the hieroglyphs, and you're kind of experiencing this, and as you start to feel like you're kind of like in mentally kind of in this kind of starting to feel certain exhaustion in it. You see one of the hieroglyphs also expand and being interpreted as this ship coming in, this spaceship that is shaped pretty much like a sword. It's like a long thing with the wings coming to the side very near the end, with the kind of like short end to it, and it's just coming into this planet's orbit there, and launching people out of it wearing jetpacks and stuff with rocket propulsion and stuff, but the people are wearing complete like knight armor, power suits, and they're just they have these long tube things that they have like these kind of like almost like these sniper rifle syringes, kind of just, and they're kind of going into the atmosphere of the planet, and its surface is swirling like a raging ocean, just. And as the knights are trying to get a sample of the liquid there, the waves smash against them, and they all fall from the sky one by one, and the ship is taking its leave after its entire crew of scientists are destroyed on their expedition, and they're just going off. And as it seems it's going further and further away, you kind of like are starting to feel really like you really have to struggle with your concentration to maintain focus, as it almost feels like it skips certain parts to show you just this final image of basically a knight from the planet Camelot, where Plaguemancer hailed from, basically finally pouring some of this liquid living entity into its gauntleted hands and letting it flow through his fingers, and feeling the pulse of this gel-like living entity in its hands. And that's pretty much where you reach your limit after spending many hours on it.
I probably at the time fall to my knees on the ground, and the rune stones kind of fall down almost in like a rain, like. Holy shit. That was some first date. I start to kind of gather the runestones, and I feel like my stomach is growling, and I'm like, is there a room service around here?
As soon as you get the runestones tucked away from anyone's sight, and you can see that the reflecting pool is completely still, and there's no glowing stuff or anything of that sort that people could see and kind of have any ideas of what's been going on here. You do hear a distinct sound of somebody going in and placing a sticky note on the other side of one of the locked doors here. You can perfectly make that out. Somebody's putting sticky notes.
What the? Damn it! What's that racket?
Do you think he'll notice the sticky note?
I'll open the door.
There's these two.
Hey, Leo.
Probably, we'll see a somewhat sweaty Liam who has still a bit sweat on his head, and his hair is, where it's usually quite well kept, it's now kind of flat, and he looked hey, what up?
Sorry to disturb you. Are you done?
Am I done what?
Oh, whatever you were doing.
Why is there a sticky note on the door? I kind of pluck it off.
We're gonna go get something to eat, and I thought you might want to go, but you look kind of tired.
I'm hungry.
Oh,
Do they have hamburgers here?
Not here exactly. The food here is a bit
Holy shit.
stale.
Oh, hey guys.
Mr. Brick and I were about to head down to a place that I often frequent. You're welcome to join us.
What is it?
It's a local diner.
What do they got?
Practically anything you want.
Hamburgers?
You better believe it.
Wait,
And the
what-
best falafels in town.
Oh, nice. Come in.
All right. Well, I think this is a good spot to end the session with our three happy campers going off to have dinner together at a diner. That sounds good.
And not just any diner. They're going to the Disposable Heroes Diner.
No, I need to write this stuff down. You keep coming up with this.
I'm getting waffles.
Okay, but I think we would like to pick up the next session with a lighthearted scene at a diner. So that's a good place to end this session. So, and also looking at the time. But yeah, I think we're gonna stop here. And yeah, thanks for everybody for watching, and do check out the link in the description box for the open Facebook group for this campaign, where you're free to post and ask questions and follow any posts we make about pictures of NPCs and whatnot, whatever we come up with. So yeah, see you next time.